Hello friends, it's Kate and I am jumping right into another multi-panel art project. So we're going to do some intuitive abstract today and I'm jumping in with my charcoal pencil. It's a woodless charcoal, not graphite. That's silly. But anyway, I got these at Hobby Lobby and I've just been having so much fun kind of playing with them. So I figured I would break it out today and make some fun marks and then we can see where this painting goes. And I'm in the mood for some swirlies. So that's what we're going to do all the way through everything. And if you haven't tried these yet, they're pretty fantastic. I mean, you can use it on anything. I love these. Whoa. And that's another intuitive mark right there. All right, let's just have some fun today, shall we? Okay, I'm going to go into my giant Posca pen because I've been really digging putting black down early on, and then you can kind of see marks that come through the layers later. And so I'm just going to have some fun. I like that texture there. And maybe make some of those marks. Let me prime this a bit to get another solid line. And then maybe some there. And how about make that mark? And you know what? Let's do one solid line across and one down. Why not? And how about we make a curve here and a curve coming straight up like that. X marks the spot. All right. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to come in with another black. And this one is going to be my brush tip pigment liner. And this adds a nice sort of variable line. And you can get pretty, pretty detailed with it, I guess. You can press down to make it thicker. I'm just going to kind of add some fun marks there. And let's add some circles right here up the side. And the name of the game today is contrast, like always. I keep trying to work on that and also leave some white space. I don't have to fill, I keep having to tell myself, you don't have to fill in every inch of the paper. It's okay to have white space, but I tend to get carried away. So here we are. I'll add a couple little grid marks here. I think that's kind of neat. All right, and let's add a stripe kind of right next to this. Almost like it's some sort of pattern that's there on purpose. And then we'll leave that as is. And maybe for this, I'll add some lines coming up on the diagonal. And why don't we just carry this down all the way? And then maybe do the same thing up here. Just like that. And let's add some scribbles there. And maybe there. And do that. Okay, next up, I'm going to go into my purple and teal alcohol inks. These are homemade, and I'm just going to do some splashes on here, just in a couple of little random spots, and maybe I'll make some marks with the scrapey edge of my sprayer, just like this. And you can kind of draw with it a little bit too. And I'm just going to get kind of scribbly, but get some color on the page. And by the way, this is a gessoed surface. So I do have a light layer of gesso. Let's come right up here to the corner and add kind of a solid block there, and maybe another one right here. I like that. Okay. I'm going to do the same with this teal color, which is also really pretty. And it does lighten up a bit as it dries. These are homemade. You can make them extra pigmented by using more marker, but I just used 1 permanent marker per 2-ounce bottle. When I'm ready to make some more, I mean, it lasts forever. I mean, I've had these so long, and even as much as I use them, I still have a ton of ink left. But when I'm ready to make some more, I think what I'll do is make a video, unless you want to see one faster, and then I can make one faster. I mean, you can't have too much acrylic ink. I don't think that's possible. Maybe I could try with a different kind of marker. All right. Why don't we put some over this purple and see how that goes together. I really like how it just flows. And I think this one might be my favorite so far. I'm just going to add in that nice tint to the background and kind of paint a little bit with my applicator here. Just like that. All right, do we have a favorite so far? No, not yet. It's too early in the process. Okay, next up, I'm going to grab my little paint plate and I'm going to go into my Light Rose Amsterdam ink. And I'm going to put a little bit on, you know what? Who cares about the plate? Let's just go straight in with the applicator. Get some more paint, just like this. And I'm going to go over this a little bit with my brush too. But let's get some color down. And I really love this pink. It's pretty opaque, but you can get it pretty thinned out. And it spreads really nicely. Now I don't want it to stay wet forever, so I am going to spread this with my brush. And you can see it blending a bit with that charcoal that I have down, which is a really neat little look. And it has a bit of a little bit of a tint to it, where you can still see some of that color coming in from the background. So I like that. And I'm just going to kind of blend this into some spots with my brush. I don't mind having those brush strokes. I'm going to kind of embrace that here and just keep going with my layer. And I got some on my finger, so I'm going to wipe that off. Blend it in. This one, maybe I'll make a little bit more marky, like that. Why not? And this will kind of be my first base layer of a main color coat. And it might be a little bit hard for you to see on camera because it is a very light color, but it's really beautiful and subtle. Maybe I'll kind of emphasize those curves there. And I kind of like this look here, so I might just kind of reinforce that and spread this out a bit to make it more blobby. Just like this. And I'm just kind of working it in lightly with my brush. Maybe I'll add a little bit in up to that corner. Just like that. I'm going to blend these together. Maybe I'll kind of feather this out a bit and maybe feather this one up toward the corner there. Yeah. Okay, I grabbed some Purple Lake, and this is a pretty transparent purple. And I think I'm going to continue on with some of this transparency because I want to make a little bit of a glaze over this so that we can still see detail, but it's going to add some more color. So I'm going to come in with my brush, and I grabbed just a flat brush. I'm going to take a little bit of paint here and just kind of thin it out just a little bit to make it easier to spread. I'm just adding a little bit of water. And I'm going to make some thicker marks, just like this. And it's going to be very transparent, but you'll be able to see that color. Maybe I'll even just cover over a little bit down there at the bottom. And I like that. I'm going to do some more. And again, I'm just sort of thinning out that paint a bit. And let's add some here. And the acrylic ink, because my acrylic paint is kind of watery, there is going to be a little bit of repelling action. You can kind of see that here, and it adds a kind of nice texture. And so I'm just going to keep that going. And you have that hydrophobic look. And it also blends pretty nicely. Okay, let's do a stripe here, just like that. And then maybe I'll come in here and do a little bit of dry brushing. And maybe I'll do some dry brushing here too. And just go quickly so you get that sort of stripy look. But I'm adding color, and here where you can still see my charcoal, it is blending a bit there too, which I like. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of a detail here coming down from this black stripe, and maybe the same thing over to the right. And this paint's a little bit thicker, so you won't have that watery resist quite as much. But I'm going to add a little bit more water to my plate right now. And I'm also going to reinforce this stripe here. And maybe fill in this little area. And how about back here? Just like that. And I love that you can still see the detail coming in from the background. Now, I don't know if any of my paint is still wet enough, but I'm going to come back in and see if I can get any resist with this alcohol ink in the purple. Because sometimes if your acrylic is watery enough, it will really have an interesting effect, kind of similar to when you work with watercolor, and it will kind of push things aside. I'm going to make these much larger dots and just let those kind of spread out and really just drag out that ink. And it's kind of a neat, almost cloudy look. And then we can even come back in over here and add some more color and maybe some peeking out from behind there. And this has some really nice layers. kind of like these sort of blobs of color, so I'm going to come back over here and add some more of that. And I might have this come right up through here, just like that, and kind of bring this area together. What do we think? All right. I think this looks pretty. How about some more teal? Why not? Let's get really busy before we start toning things down. Because we'll work also with some neutrals. And we'll bring some white in to add some more light areas. But right now we have a pretty good mix of mid-tones and our deep black, which is always beautiful. And I'm just kind of layering up the alcohol ink. I think I love the look that we're getting here. It's just very layered, and each layer of alcohol kind of pushes aside and adds just some more interest. And there's a lot going on here that I like. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go in and add some white back in here. I'm still pretty damp in some areas, but it has had a few minutes to dry. So first I'm going to grab my little filbert. This is one of my favorite brushes. And I'm going to find some dark areas that I can kind of pump up that contrast. So for this one, I'm actually going to follow along with this black mark and against this pink and purple. And I'm just going to kind of dip in and add this color and just sort of loosely follow along and make that stripe. And then I might also take the side of my brush and make some stripes coming right down the side here, just like this. And on this one, I really love what's going on here with the contrast, but I'm going to fill in some of these boxes and just make some shapes, just like that. And maybe I'll choose this one here. And they're not going to be, terribly accurate, but I am going to just add some stuff. And maybe I'll make this big one up here white as well. I'm just kind of easily going across with my brush and filling it in. Just like that. And I'm going to fill in these black circles as well. So they'll still have that black outline, but we'll have some contrast there. And then here, I'm going to clean up this area a bit. So I'm going to come through here and then kind of drag this down and make it kind of blend with this background a bit and sort of feather it out. And I might do the same down here. So where this is right here, I'm just going to sort of drag my brush right down. You can probably see that on camera, and I'll take that right off to the side. Actually, why don't I just do this? There. I'm going to strengthen this just a little bit. and you can get sort of a stronger feathery motion. Almost like it's melting or something. And how about right off the top? Okay, for this one, I'm going to add some lines right through here. And I'm going to thicken up the paint a little bit so it's a little more opaque. But I'm just going to come down, and it's not going to be a perfectly straight line, that's fine, but just a nice white stripe. And maybe I'll kind of do like I did over here with the black and just see how that looks with pure white. And gesso, or at least this gesso, is not completely opaque, so we will still be able to see some detail. Now this, I'm going to do that same feathery brush stroke over this purple, and I think that is very pretty, and it's like a dry brush. Okay. And why don't we do some coming down straight? Yeah, I like that. Now I'm going to make some sort of dashes around here, or blobs. Just like that. And maybe I'll follow this down the side also. And get some nice motion there. And I think that's enough. You know what? I kind of like that look though. I'm going to add some to this one here. And maybe a cross. Why not? Okay, now I'm just getting happy with the dashes, but what can you do? Sometimes you gotta have dashes. And I'm just going to add another little coat to these circles to really brighten them up and make them pop. It started to dry a little bit, so I can come in with some more color, and those really get bright, which I like. And I'm going to do the same thing with these shapes that I painted and just go over them quickly and solidify them a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to go back in with this teal over the white. I'm really digging the alcohol inks today, and I love how they look on top of the paint. So I'm going to come back in, and it's going to leave kind of a light mark over that gesso, but it's really pretty, and it brings a little bit of detail kind of back in, and we're using colors that we already have going on the page. And I'm going to be just putting it in a couple of spots like that. Okay, I've got my palette knife and some more of the purple, and I'm mixing in a little bit of white to lighten it up on my plate. And we're going to get a little bit more of an opaque color because I'm mixing it with some of this gesso. And I'm just going to go straight in with this palette knife and add some color right down into the page. And just get this going with some more color, more texture, which seems to be my favorite word, I guess. I'm just going to put that paint on the back of the palette knife and just kind of play around with spreading this paint. And I'm still wet in a couple of spots on my paper, but that is fine with me. I just want to add some details and some more coverage with paint. And it's going to be pretty grungy, and I like that. And maybe I'll kind of pop out from back here like that and come in from the side on this stripe. That looks pretty neat. Okay, so let's do some here. And we're just building up the layers. And I'm going to mix together some more because I've got pretty much scraped up from my plate. And I'm going to come in here and maybe come straight down across that white that I've got. And for this one, I might follow along this a little bit. And I have a bit of a thicker layer there, which actually I really like how that looks. And I'll add a little bit up here as well. Yeah. And I'm just going to kind of mop off the rest of that, scrape it in, maybe put some right here, and just clean off my palette knife. Now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of gesso right around it here. And I'm going to take a dry brush and try to blend this a little bit. So I've got this sort of mop brush and it's very soft hair. And I'm just going to kind of blend this in and make it kind of have a cloudy look. And I might see how that works with some of that straight purple. And just blend it into the page. And I like that. That's a pretty neat little effect right there, if you ask me. I'm going to dip into some more white here and start spreading this in. And just kind of tone down some of this and give it a soft blend. And maybe I'll come in from the top here. Just like that. I'm just kind of dipping into my white and getting it down. And some of it's going to look a little bit dry brush, and that's okay. I'm just kind of playing around with my brush and just seeing what kind of marks and shapes we can get. And you can see it kind of just getting sort of cloudy. Ooh, I like that. It's kind of rough. But maybe I'll spread it some more. And I'm going to take my spray bottle and kind of hold it far back and give it a light mist. And this is just water. And so what it'll do is kind of moisten this up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to come in with my Lottie Dottie white chalk marker and make some finer marks here. And these are going to be very bright on top of the paint layers. And on this one, I'm just going to do some dashes, just like that. And I'm going to re-highlight the black marker here and put in that hard line again, just like that, and down here to the side. And I'm just going to clean off my marker a little bit and add that mark, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and trace all of this and get it a nice, good, strong mark. And over here, let's do some circles. And some of this is kind of mixing with the paint a little bit, but I'm just going to keep going. This is a really cheap marker, and I can always kind of clean off the tip. I probably wouldn't go over wet paint with my Posca pen just because those are expensive and, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too precious with my supplies. But it's hard to pay a lot for something and then, ruin it in just one single painting session. All right. I'm going to do some circles here too, and maybe I'll even outline a couple of these ink spots. That seems fun. Okay, now this, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the black line over to the right, and I'm just going to outline this white that we kind of got foggy with the blending and bring that contrast back in. And same thing up here. I'm just going to go along the top of this black marker. And so what I'm kind of doing is finding dark areas where I can add some white and just keep the contrast going, because that's where we end up drawing the eye to different spots on the paper. And it can be strategic. Right now, for me, it feels kind of random just because I'm still not really sure what I want to do here. And so I'm going to keep on making marks until I just get a good sense of what I've got going on my paper. And some of the stuff on here that we kind of got lost, we can bring back just by highlighting it a little bit. And I kind of like these simple little outlines, and it just, I don't know, it adds a little something special. And maybe I'll fill in some of these circles. And maybe not all of them, maybe just a few. But that'll just add another sort of element to our page. Just like that. And maybe we can follow in this loop. What do we think? Why don't we bring some of that loop back in from our charcoal marker? All right. I think I like where this is going. Those random little loopy marks. And how about we do this one up here? And I'm kind of going to have it going through and then kind of going behind some of these shapes that we've got. Yeah. I like that. Just some simple mark making. Yeah. Okay, I grabbed my medium tip black painter's marker. This is also an acrylic paint marker, but it's got a medium sized tip. And I'm going to bring some of this darkness back in over that color. So I'm going to kind of recolor in this shape that we made with the Posca pen in the beginning. And I'm just kind of going over it gently where it used to be, I guess you could say. And maybe I'll add in a little line there. And how about this loop? And maybe I can even join it up just like that. And for this one, I'm going to recolor in some of this and kind of have it come out. Let's see what we want to do. Maybe I'll kind of color it in partially, just like that. And I'm going to go over this edge here and just kind of outline it there. And bring in a couple of these lines. Where they kind of got dragged out, but I'm just going to go a little bit there. And I'm going to do different marks over here. And I'm going to do some black kind of rectangles here. Just like this. And maybe we'll have a couple coming sideways. And maybe one peeking out of the side here. And down from the top and up from the bottom. Just like that. And how about we have a few coming up out of here. And here, I think I'm going to highlight the bottom of this black mark again. Or is that low light? Who knows? And I like this organic mark here too. I'm just going to refollow this. Just like that. This one, I'm going to do a couple of dark squares. And the dark lines in a couple of these spots here. Just to bring back in the look of those spots. And there's that neat contrast. This one, I think I'm pretty happy with that. But what I am going to do is highlight these white dashes. And I know I keep saying highlight. It's like, well, really a shadow or a low light, I suppose. But that's what we're going to go with. I'm highlighting it for your attention. How's that? Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And I think we're going to be in the home stretch soon. Okay, I'm going to do another glazing area. So this is very cool and cool recedes. I am going to add some of this deep yellow. This is also a pretty transparent color. And I'm going to grab a little bit of water just to thin it out again like we did before with that purple lake. And I'm just going to grab some with my brush and add it to a couple of spots. And it's just going to be an accent more than anything else. And I think right here I might put a little bit through on this area. And I'm going to use actually my smaller filbert brush to kind of feather that out a bit and fill in some of this spot here, because I used kind of a large brush to get into this small space. And I might add just a little bit down here with kind of a dry brush. I'm going to actually dab into my other larger brush. I'm going to go right over some of this like a glaze. And you can see that pop of warmth just comes right off the page. And I might fill in this area right up here, just like that. And I'm just using this in some small places. So I might put yellow into this rectangle here and these couple of squares. And maybe, let's see, where do we want to go with this, guys? How about this black stripe? Or what used to be a black stripe. And that one too. We're just having fun here. So for this one, I think I want to add in a little bit of yellow coming from the top and just kind of dry brush it right down toward the center here. And I'm going over everything. And I'm just spreading it out so you have some nice color coming in. And then I'm going to take that down here to the bottom, just like this. So it adds sort of a nice little stripe going through. So I'm going to pick up some more. Like I said, this filbert brush, it's my favorite. And for this one, I'm going to glaze this purple spot that we have here. You can still see that wonderful texture coming through from that paint. I really love that. And this is just a very thin layer. And I might come into this spot right here. Okay, for this one here, I'm going to kind of stay inside these swirls and add my yellow right to the middle. I'm going to even cover that one since we did the other. And then I'm going to come to this one right up here. Now I want a little something over here, so I think I will go into this little light pink spot and come straight down, just like that. And for this one, I think I know we're going to go and do this cross. And glazing is magical because you can see all the details still. And I got a little bit of extra color from another spot on my plate by accident. I blotted my brush and I'm just going to go over this again to take back a little bit of that color, and I'm just going to take it down to the bottom. And I'm going to brush across again and just get this even. Just like that. I'm going to strengthen this white stripe again with some more gesso because it kind of faded into the background. So I'm going to do that now. And that way we get our bright color back in here. Just like that. And here, I'm going to do this white box here. I just want to make sure that we've got enough brightness on our page where it really sticks out. And what I might do is turn this into a white stripe as well, right down the side. And it used to be black, but we'll change the color now. And I'm going to also come right here, just like that. For this one, I think I've got some pretty good color going on. And I'm going to add my white right next to this cross. Like that. Okay, on this one, I'm not as crazy about the white dashes anymore, so I'm going to just cover over and make a white line inside the black line. And it's going to tone those down a bit, send them to the back, and we'll still have black in our painting. All right, and for this one, I'm going to come down next to my yellow. And I just really love the yellow. It's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to make a thinner line here and here. And let's see, maybe make a little mark here. Like that. Okay, I think we're done with our painting. So let's see what we've got by taking the tape off. Okay, I think these ones are first. Yep, so I'm going to pull these down. And I'm pulling straight back, so hopefully I don't pull up any of my paper. But if you have tape that is more tacky, you can also try to use a hair dryer or something on it, because if it's heated up, the glue softens a bit and it might be easier to remove your tape. I love removing the tape. It's my favorite part of this whole process. Oh, now we've got a little bit of stuck tape, and I'll just kind of grab it from the sides to prevent it from ripping more. And then keep pulling it back. All right, we're in the home stretch, and I think these look fabulous. Woohoo! Excellent. Look at this, 6 separate paintings. We can cut these up, but let me give you a close-up of the finished product. So there's this one, and then this one here. I really love the yellow through the center of this third one. I think that's really beautiful. And then this one with all the interesting marks, and our 2 crosses, which I really like how each of these turned out, and they're both very different. And I really loved doing this. I love doing these in general. They're just such great exercises. And even if you don't love how it turns out, you might love how it turns out. So I hope you enjoyed this video today, and hopefully you brought out your supplies and did this along with me. And I just really appreciate you staying with me, watching my videos, and supporting my channel through likes and subscribes. And I can't believe it, but at the time of this recording, I am very close to 1,000 subscribers, and I never thought I would be here. So thank you so much for your support, and it really means a lot to me. So anyway, grab your supplies, stay tuned for the next video, and until then, keep creating, and have a great day.